What's going on, troopers? Welcome to the Trooper Transmission. Today we got my man Michael, aka CT 2071, aka Charger of Alpha Squad. Lots of alter egos. We'll explain why in a second. But Michael, thanks for taking the time, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, fun facts: we are both in Seattle right now, maybe 10 minutes apart, despite most people being all over the world. So it's kind of cool to talk to a fellow Seattleite. How's the weather?
Oh, it's typical Seattle fashion. And the summer weather is finally starting to break, and we're getting the first signs of autumn. Like the air is nice and crisp, gray
Yeah.
sky. Like it's perfect Seattle weather.
Yeah, no, this is my favorite time where it's like still warm, still long days, but getting to that cozy Game of Thrones weather. I watched the entire season 3 of Game of Thrones on Sunday, so we're we're in the Seattle fall pocket already.
Is this your first time watching Game of Thrones?
No, I've watched it already,
Okay,
but
I was gonna.
our 4-week-old wouldn't sleep, so we didn't sleep either. So I was like, all right, well, gotta kill the time somehow. So
There you go.
yelling at Joffrey is what we did.
You're gonna be doing that a lot through a lot of the seasons of Game of
Yeah.
Thrones for sure.
We're luckily not here to talk about Joffrey. We're here to talk about you, man, and your success and your growth and your transformation and kind of your tips for members of the community. So, what I like to do is start out with where you were when you initially learned that you could train like a trooper and tap into an alter ego, and where you were kind of in your health and fitness journey 4, 5, 6 months ago.
Yeah, sure. So about 6 months ago, I work at a very sedentary job. I work from home. And that has its perks, but there's a lot of downsides to that. You don't really get to leave your apartment. Having a reason to leave your apartment is, it's hard to find that, and I was weighing around 212 pounds. My workout routine was sporadic at best, and I knew that I needed to make a change, but like I was just kind of like half-heartedly making my way through a fitness routine. And I kept seeing these ads on Instagram of this dude in a stormtrooper Clone Wars helmet just like crushing these workouts and promoting this community of troopers, those nerdy troopers, and I would express interest, but I didn't take it too seriously. I thought maybe this is just a scam. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, he's working out in a helmet. Okay, like how
Yeah,
seriously can I take this guy?
yeah,
Um, but it got to the point where I was trying to make my way through the gym on my own. It got to the point where I was not really seeing any progress. I found myself being more self-conscious of the fact that I didn't know what I was doing in the gym. And before I contacted you, I actually met with another personal trainer. He just gave off this vibe of like that typical gym rat kind of bro, vibe, and there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
But it just didn't appeal to me. And so I decided to take the chance and, I reached out to you for an onboarding and like it's that day, my life completely changed for the better. Like hands
Wow.
down, everything complete 180. Like I hit the ground running and I hit it hard.
Yeah. So you weren't in a good rhythm, but what was it? Low energy that you had? Like what was
It was like
impact?
low motivation,
Yeah.
like if because I would go to the gym, but arriving at the gym isn't enough. Like you have to be able to put in the work, but not knowing where to direct my energies, not knowing a proper structured workout, like I was just kind of bouncing around from machine to machine, not really having any set guidance or path. And so like I felt like I was putting in energy, but because I wasn't doing it the right way, I wasn't seeing the results. And so I wasn't as motivated. I'm like, maybe working out just isn't for me. Maybe there's something about me on a chemical level or a biological level that just doesn't work for working
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And so that's about where I was.
And you said you were at 212. Was that light for you, heavy for you?
I
Did
was
you feel good there?
I didn't feel great. The heaviest I had been was over 220 pounds, and that was during the pandemic. You know, for obvious reasons, like the pandemic affected us all in different ways. But 212, I was not comfortable with myself. I wasn't confident in my body. The Seattle area is very much a hilly, steep incline kind of city, and I would get winded really easily for somebody who's in their mid 30s. And so it just I didn't feel good with where I was. I wasn't to the point where like I was super worried about my health, like for all intents and purposes, I was healthy, but like I just wasn't happy with who I was or where I was in my fitness journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a little bit of skepticism, totally normal. Not everyone has workouts in a helmet. As you crossed the threshold, got started, what did you realize, or what were maybe your first impressions and the things where you quickly realized, oh wow, this is different than I've done things, or was it more of being reminded to do things the right way? Like, what was your first few weeks like?
So after the onboarding session with you, I had a really good feeling. After talking to you and learning about what the community, the Fitness Nerd Academy was all about, I walked away from that onboarding session just like without any doubts, without any hesitation. Everything just felt right. And after the onboarding, I sat down with myself and had a very serious conversation with myself and said, if I'm going to invest in this financially, I'm making an investment in myself and I'm going to take it as seriously as I possibly can. And like that next day, as soon as I got, the app and the workout scheduled for me, like I hit the ground running, and just it was unlike anything I've ever experienced before. The community on its own is fantastic. I've never, ever in my life encountered anything like this community before. But the biggest thing for me was like the gamified approach to the training. It took away like, oh, this is working out. It put me in the mindset of this is training. I'm leveling myself up, and being a gamer, being able to tap into that side, it made the training process a lot more approachable.
Yeah. And so for you then, what were some of the things that either you learned or got a different perspective on, maybe, that made it feel like, okay, cool, like I can do this? Because you said earlier on the call, or on this conversation, maybe I just don't have the biology. Maybe it's me, and the problem's me. What shifted?
I think what shifted for me was just like the approach to the training, with because I've tried different fitness programs before, like when P90X was a thing back in the day. I tried doing that program, but it still had this mentality of, for lack of a better word, like a gym rat, and there's no offense meant with that, just it has this connotation of like, yeah, like let's do it. And like I've always kind of shied away from that, it's always been a little intimidating. But this gamified approach and like, me being a Star Wars nerd, like there's so many different components came together in harmony to make this training more approachable. It seemed more fun. I was actually eager and excited to push myself and like find the boundaries. And when I referenced earlier about like not having the biological makeup for being fit, I've always been skinny throughout my life. Like I'd have fat in my midsection, but like my arms, my legs, everything was always lanky, always thin. And so I just thought maybe I just don't have the capability to put on muscle or anything of that nature. But I have quickly learned that is not the case at all.
Yeah. So it sounds like you mentioned approachable, which then helps you be consistent because you feel like it's almost for you, or it is
Right.
designed for you, not just from an exercise standpoint, but almost a mentality standpoint.
Exactly. Yes. And the mentality standpoint is, I think, the biggest factor here into a victorious training program. One thing that you and I talk about frequently in our one-on-ones is, how my mentality towards like fitness, diet, life in general has shifted drastically for the better, in my opinion. My approach towards food, my approach towards fitness, like all of these different things that I used to just kind of put on the back burner have now taken precedence in my life. And yeah, I've noticed a huge, huge positive shift.
Yeah. To that point, with positive shifts, what have been some of the biggest wins, qualitative, quantitative, that you've noticed over the last few months?
I would say that the biggest wins for me is just how excited I am about getting to work out, how motivated I feel. Before I started this program, I would sleep in to the very last second before having to get into work. Nowadays, I wake up early enough to get in an hour walk before work because I know that that's just adding to you know my game. It's adding to my stats. It adds to so much. And I just it's those kinds of small things, those small shifts in my perspective, the way I view my day, that really have contributed to my successes.
Yeah, absolutely. So for success, if someone was watching this and you could only give them three keys to success, what would those keys to success be? It's a lot of S's.
It's a lot of S's. First key to success is dedication. Like you have to want it. For me, it was I reached this point where like I knew I had to make a change. And I knew I couldn't keep making excuses. Otherwise, I would blink. And next thing I know, I'm 40 something, 50 something, in the worst shape of my life. And like it just would be harder. So you have to be dedicated. You have to want it. That would be the first one. The second one is consistency. There are days where I wake up and I just do not want to do anything. I don't want to work. I don't want to work out. I just want to veg out on the couch with some snacks and play video games. But one of the FNA or one of the things I learned in FNA and that you promote is the alter ego. And leaning on that alter ego in those moments of inconsistency have really helped push me into just getting it done. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. And so
Yeah.
if you're consistent, if you keep pushing yourself and driving yourself to that finish line, you're going to see results. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
my third factor for success would have to be just have fun with it. Don't be afraid of the workouts and don't be afraid of not being great when you first start. That was one thing that would hold me back years ago when I would try working out. Is like I wouldn't see results right away, and so I would immediately chalk it up to I'm failing and completely abandon everything. And that's all back to fear. But with FNA, the Fit Nerd Academy, it taught me to have fun with my fitness and to just accept that this is a progress, this is a process, and I'm not going to be a hit success right off the bat. I'm not going to nail every workout perfectly right off the bat. It takes practice, and having fun with it takes out that work aspect, and it just makes it more fun as far as training goes.
Yeah. I love that. Having fun. That's why I did it. I was like, this sounds like fun. I want to work out in a helmet. I want to come back to what you said about the alter ego, because that for a lot of people can seem like this weird thing, like what we're schizophrenic, like what's going on. How would you describe it? Because you've got Charger, that's the call sign that you've earned from the community based on your
Yeah.
personality. You got your CT number, you've got your squad. Like what is your interpretation or how the alter ego helps you?
So my interpretation of it is I don't necessarily see Charger or CT2071 as a separate entity from myself. He is a part of me. He's that part of me that was in hibernation mode. He is that part of me that was itching to get out during those many different attempts at fitness, but like I just didn't know how to tap into that, and me being a Star Wars nerd and like getting this call sign, and the CT number assignment, it made me feel really giddy and excited, because like this is putting a name to that side of me, and it's that name that I can like call out, or it's that alter ego I can lean on in those moments where I just don't really feel like Michael can do it. Michael has had a hard day on two. But if Charger knows that I can do it, if Charger knows and if Charger believes that I can do it, then why can't I believe in myself too? So I don't see it as like a completely separate entity. Charger is me. He's just that part of me that comes out whenever I need to tap into beast mode.
Yeah. That's your beast mode. I like that. Dude,
Yeah,
I love that because you've fully embraced the process, you've embraced the work, you've embraced the nerdy side, which might have been the easier thing for you and what was
yeah.
missing, but you have done such a good job of just pun intended charging into this process head on and the results speak for themselves. And I can't wait to see what is in store for you because the sky's the limit. And I just love working with guys like you and watching you grow and progress. It is the best thing. It's just you're awesome to work with. So just want to
Thank
give you
you.
that little nugget.
I
Uh,
appreciate that. Yeah, it definitely does feel like, as a gamer, it does feel like I've unlocked an achievement. I've leveled up, and like I mean it. This has completely changed my life for the better, and I'm excited for the future.
yeah. And we got your alter ego helmet coming your way soon. So I'll be excited to give you that charger helmet to throw on and go scare all your neighbors when you do the laundry.
There we go.
Awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for the time. will watch your career with great interest, and you're awesome, man.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you.